up? This is
Ready?
Yes. Every
Whoops.
time. Alright, let's try it again. So, this is Big D and Shade from Takoyaki Anime.
Oh!
And today, we are back with Monthly Ketchup. We're going to be talking about our initial thoughts for the fall season of 2017.
There are some pretty good ones out there this season, too.
Yes. As we did 2 episodes ago, we're interested in 18 shows. But today, we're going to be talking about almost all of them.
Just a few.
Yep. The first show we're going to be talking about is Black Clover.
This, okay, I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I'm, on the fence with this one. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
You watch this one?
Yes.
You seen this one?
Yep.
Okay. Is it just me? I'm sure you probably know what I'm about to say. Is it just me, or is the little kid main character annoying as hell the way he talks?
Yes.
I'm like, dude, tone it down a notch. Holy crap. I mean, when he's talking normally, just like we are right now, he's great. I can relate to him as a character, a great character. But when then he's for normally, a solid just like 5 minutes is just screaming, shouting, and yelling every little thing that he's saying off the top of his head. I'm like, oh my god, shut up.
Yeah, so I had heard from another Twitch streamer that's also in the anime that it's a brand new, that's a brand new voice actor, and that's his first role. So my thing is that his fault or is that the director's fault? Because you got to give the okay for that many episodes to be all the same. So
yeah, but I mean, I'm not even blaming who's doing it. I'm just saying whoever's decision it was to make the character that way. I get they want him to be full of energy and just on it all the time. I mean, he is just moving and grooving and always doing stuff. I get it, but they could have gone about it a different way than just making him basically screaming everything he's saying every single second.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, and this is what keeps me coming back and watching it, because you know me. If I have an annoying character, that almost immediately makes me want to just stop watching. The character is just that annoying. I'm like, I cannot stand him. Just like with Bahamut, that character, he annoyed the crap out of me, and I could not stand watching it because of that character. And he's right there with me on that. This character is so annoying. But the overall storyline and everything that's going on about it, I'm a fantasy buff. I love everything that's going on besides that. Everyone has magical powers. And you have, and this is an underdog story. These are the people that they don't think they're going to amount to much. They don't think much of them because they started at very humble beginnings. They were orphans, and now they have a chance to be, what do they call them? The Wizard King.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and you're rooting for them, and it's their accomplishments, just like with any underdog story, their accomplishments feel like your accomplishments. You feel great with them. You're like, oh yeah, definitely show him who's boss. The dude. Which episode are you on?
3.
Okay,
they walked up to the castle.
Oh, okay. Well, it's in the next episode. They start their I guess prelims as far as qualifying to be a magic knight or whatever, and one dude, it's typical because he has no magic powers other than the huge sword that he wields that comes out of nowhere. So during the prelims and tryouts, he's not doing much, obviously, because he doesn't have any magical powers. And then someone was pretty much making fun of him, saying, oh, you're gonna be a pushover, this, that, and the other thing. And he puts out this ultimate defense where it's he can shoot things as well as he's shielded all around, and he's like, try to do your best and get through, because he thinks he can't do anything. And then that's when he pulls out his sword and absolutely annihilates the dude. Yeah. But I mean, it's those situations like that. You're like, yeah, hell yeah, you showed him his boss. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, shut up, please. Stop. Just shut up. Come on. You were doing so well. We liked you. Now we don't like you anymore. I don't know what to say. But You know, and visually, it's absolutely great. The way they do, like the first dude they came across with the chains, how they were like coming out of everywhere. I like that.
The chains were a little ugly, but I do like how it was laid out and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's just
wasn't as bad as Handshakers, but as soon as that happened, I was like,
no,
oh, this looks like
no. And,
Handshakers.
like it wasn't. And like I said, it wasn't like beautiful as in like I'm not talking about bones quality like material here. I'm just saying as far as like how everything came out, and I'm like this
Yeah.
that yeah.
Yeah, subtle.
I'm right there.
It was subtle.
It's magic.
and
It's
subtle and
yeah.
stylistic.
It's subtle, and I appreciate that. If that's the direction that they're going in, I appreciate that. But yeah, it's story wise, I'm on board. I want to see them succeed. I want to see what happens. I want to see why he's got the Black Clover, which is, unheard of or whatever for anyone to have. Black Clover Grimorum. And then
Is it because it's a black clover or is it because it's a 5-leaf clover?
I think it's both.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's never been, or there's rarely ever, like, well, I want to say the 4-leaf is a rarity. The 5-leaf black clover is like unheard of.
Yeah.
Because like everyone he's come across with has been like, what? What does he have? Why? What is this thing? And then all of a sudden he pulls out the giant sword and they're like, oh, crap.
I guess that's cool that nobody knows about it, because if everybody knew that it was like demonic powers, then I feel like everybody would be attacking him.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, it kind of seems like it is at the same time, though. It's he's more actually, I don't know if it's more consciously or whatnot, but he's actually kind of controlling it, kind of.
Yeah.
So
Through
like
brute force.
Yeah, through sheer willpower, which shows you just how much sheer willpower he has. But and I appreciate. Okay, so and I guess in that sense too, they kind of have a what is that old The Odd Couple type dynamic going on between him and the other guy, because him you have loud, annoying, obnoxious, brute force, strength, and everything. The other dude you have quiet, kind of more or less laid back to a point, brilliant, great magical powers. And everything. So I guess they were wanting to go with a dynamic in between the two of those,
Yeah.
where you don't
where polar opposites.
Polar opposites of each other, but they're still friends and everything. So there's a lot I enjoy, and there's a lot I like about it. But there's also just the blaring, oh my god, just shut him up sometimes.
It's the air horn. They took the air horn out, everything would be awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like they're just like, burp! And I'm like, no, stop it. Go back. That's not okay. We were doing fine before that. And now I'm just like, okay, fine. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it's only the beginning of the show, so I don't really see it where it's going. I can see they're going to get into the entry tournament and stuff like that, and they're gonna basically mow over the beginning of the competition, but then you'll start meeting other characters who they'll actually become friends with in the future, like most shonen go, and they'll have a tough time fighting against those, and then we'll end up like expanding the cast and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting. If he calms down a little bit, then I'll be absolutely on board with the show. Even if he doesn't calm down a little bit, it's annoying, but I can get over that part.
I cringe every time I do it. I swear, I cringe every single time. I will say, it is shonen, so it's very predictable in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. You can already see where things are going to play out. And just like you were saying, in this next episode, they actually meet the heads of the 13 knight organizations.
Yeah.
Because those are the ones actually, like, they're, I guess, judging them, kind of seeing what they're worth, and then if they want to actually accept them into their whatever ones they're in, kind of thing. And I can already see where the loud, annoying, obnoxious one is, like, you meet his commander like pretty much right off the bat, and I'm like, yep, nope, he's definitely gonna go with him. I can totally see it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It's the one he's going with has got to be like the outcast. Everyone's just like, oh, I don't want to go with him. He's just like, because like at one point he ran into him and he bodily picks up the kid by his head and starts squeezing with one hand his skull, saying he's gonna crush him because he annoyed him.
Oh,
And I'm like, well,
wow.
I get that. I'm like, totally get that. Trust me. But then at one point he reaches up and the kid grabs his arm, and all of a sudden you can see the muscles just bulge on his arms as he's like almost to the point where he can actually take his hand off of his head, and you can see the kind of a slight shock, surprised look on his face of going, oh, okay. Before all of a sudden everyone else showed up and he had to stop. So
That's cool. I
you're
do
like,
like
"All
how
right,
it has that aspect of like, there's a TV show called The Voice where it's like three like team
Yeah.
leaders and they have to like pick if they're
yeah.
gonna train them. That's kind of
Like,
funny
I'm like,
how
you, and you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a I don't know. There's so many shows this season. It is on my list to finish, but because of the air horn, I may drop it for now and pick it up later on.
When you have a little more time,
Yeah.
focus on the ones you really want to watch instead of the. Yeah, no, I get you. Because again, it's a struggle for me at halftime. I'm like, do I really want to put myself through this again? So, anyways,
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Houseki no Kuni, or Land of the Lustrous.
this is on you, isn't it?
Yes, this is
Okay,
actually
I
a
was about to
show that
say.
somebody commented on and wanted us to look at it. It's a studio that I don't really know about.
Is this one on Amazon
Yes.
Strike?
Yes.
Okay, no wonder.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't hear about this one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I didn't hear about this one. God
Yeah,
damn it, Amazon.
And on Twitter, Crunchyroll kept putting out a bunch of videos about this show, and then the one person commented, so I wanted to go ahead and like see what everybody's talking about. The studio's Orange, and I don't know anything that they've worked on, so it's like a whole completely brand new thing. You definitely won't watch it because it's all CG.
Oh God.
And it's basically a kind of strange story where there are these life forms, humanoid life forms, that are made out of gems. So like somebody's body would be made out of diamond, somebody would be made out of rubies.
See, I swear when you first said that, instead of gems, J-E or G-E-M-S, I thought you said gyms. G-Y-M-S. I was like, made out of gems? What?
Got a punching bag for an arm.
I'm like, what? Okay.
Treadmill for a leg.
Anyways, keep going. So everyone's made out of gems. Gotcha.
Yeah, except for the main guy. They haven't really said. If they said it, I don't know. But it's like a lot of gems I've never heard of, like phosphocilium something. But it's like a turquoise gem, and that's my favorite color. So I'm like, ooh, I like her. But she's the most annoying character. So it kind of makes me sad.
Is this the season for annoying characters? Is that what that is?
I guess so. But other than the main character being boring, I can see why they decided to make this show in all CG, because the style that they went for this show, it'll be really hard to like reenact all of that in 2D. Like the way that the light shines through the gems and all of that kind of stuff, it's much easier to do that in 3D. One thing that one issue about the show that I have is like the character designs. Like they kind of have like really, really high butts or like super long legs, and like they're kind of like dumpy looking. Like I don't know, everybody's body is like the same design.
I kind of see that. Because on the picture that you have for that,
Yeah.
they have like really like almost like a giraffe type legs kind of thing going on there.
And like their like hip region is kind of like popped out like a bubble butt. It's weird. So so other than like my issues with the character designs, the story is actually pretty interesting. Some parts of it, they kind of teach you about how gems are different from each other. Like there's two different styles of diamonds. I think in the third episode they explain like there's the diamond that as soon as you say diamond, it's the diamond that you think of. It's the diamond that they put in jewelry and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also industrial diamonds, which are like the diamonds that they put on the ends of like drills and stuff. And those aren't the pretty diamonds. Those are like the durable diamonds. The pretty ones that you see inside of jewelry and everything, yeah, they're hard because diamonds are hard. But if you hit them in a certain way, they shatter rather than they shatter, and the industrial ones don't shatter really because of the molecular structure of them or something like that. And it's something
it's a science lesson in anime form.
Yeah, and they don't do like the way some shonen shows teach you, where they're like, oh, here's a chart about diamonds. This character is like this diamond because of blah, blah, and blah. And this character is like that. No, it's like this emotional thing where it's like you have two characters who are both diamonds. One's way more durable than the other. And you get introduced to the diamond that you think of right off the bat. And she's fighting monsters and everything. And like she's fending off attacks, but she's getting like all of these fractures inside of her weapons. And she's like, it's like shattered, like little pieces are like shattering off of her. And then all of a sudden the other diamond comes in and she has absolutely no problem fighting all the monsters and everything. And she kind of like, it's one of them things where it's like you have the one like basically like the hero protecting the princess, but the princess is actually strong and she can fight too. But the hero that's trying to protect her is like, no, stay over here. Don't get in the way. I'll take care of everything. I don't want you to get hurt. And it's one of the things where she's like, I can fight too. I want to help. And they kind of interweave like why the other diamond doesn't want her to help by explaining that she's fragile in certain ways and stuff like that. And
gotcha.
It was a perfect way to kind of feed in like the differences between diamonds. So I do like that aspect of it. But then the main character showed up and started being stupid again. So I was kind of annoyed. Animation animation
CG
quality style, I'm not sure what they call it, but it's typical CG for anime, so it's not anything to write home about. It's like, oh yeah, it's another CG show.
Gotcha.
But
which is funny too, because you look at that picture that you have there, and I would not think that it was CG. I honestly wouldn't.
Yeah, as soon as you like watch any scene of it, you're like, oh okay, yeah, CG.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, and I really like how they like throw facts and stuff like that in there. So
so will this be one you can continue watching, or?
It's one of them things where it's like the characters look kind of dumpy and like the main character's annoying. So I'm like, there's like 10 other shows that I actually really want to watch. So for this season, I have my like 10 or less shows that I'm gonna follow all the way through, and these will get put on the list. And I'm actually working on the list. So yeah. So yeah, I will get back to that one. All right, the next show we're going to be talking about is Infini-T Force.
Yeah, you're just rolling out with the CGs now, aren't you? You're getting them out of the way early on.
So yeah, this is another full CG show, but this is really good. I recommend this one to you.
Really?
Just like how you explained like many seasons ago when Kingsglaive came out that the only CG you're interested in is Final Fantasy style CG.
Yeah.
They either put a big budget or some really talented people on here to where I'm like, this is 25% off Final Fantasy animation. Like, the movement's there, the textures are there. I forget that it's CG sometimes. So it's not an anime strike.
Of course.
It's not.
It's not?
No, it's not an anime strike. It's not on Funimation. It's not on Crunchyroll. For some reason, Viz, the people who do like the Naruto manga and stuff like that, they put this show on their website where you can stream. You can watch it for free and with commercials and all that kind of stuff. And the service that it's actually on is called Tubi TV. TUBI.TV.
Huh.
So if anybody wants to watch this show, it's on Tubi TV or Viz, the actual official Viz website.
I'm gonna have to look that up then.
Yes. So,
I didn't see it on Crunchyroll, which is usually my go-to, so I figured it was probably on Anime Strike, and then I saw it was CG, and I was like, I might just forego it anyways. So. Yeah,
so I say definitely check this out, especially because you had when I was talking about G-Force, I think you had watched it before, right?
Yeah, I watched the original.
Yeah, so I would say definitely check this out. It's really good. Very nice animation, very good. Now,
did you watch the original?
Huh?
Did you watch the original?
Yeah, back in 96 or 7, I was watching G-Force when I was on Cartoon Network.
Pretty far back there, but I mean, is it like a reboot or is it
Well,
taking?
that's what I'm getting to. So,
Okay.
this show is not just G-Force.
Okay.
This is a show. The T in Infinity. God, there's so many N-T's. Stands for what I'm assuming it stands for Tatsunoko. They do a lot of superhero shows. So instead of this being just Gatchaman or G-Force, it's Gatchaman. It's I have to look up the actual names, but it's like 5 different superhero shows that they've had like back in the 80s and stuff like that, and it's basically the
All rolled
leaders.
into.
Yeah, all the leaders from each of those series get pulled into another world, and I'm assuming all
How
of
do
the
they explain that?
yeah, it's cool. It's a cool way that they all get sucked in. So you see the girl and like she's holding like this like a pencil.
Yeah.
For some reason that like controls dimensions and stuff like that, and it made all the worlds blend together. So
Oh, that's just an anime cop out right there. That is seriously an anime explanation cop out, like all full force on that.
yeah,
Jeez.
so it's like this giant magic pencil that combines the worlds of like Gatchaman, Kashern, and 2 or 3 other heroes. And I think also the villains get pulled into that world too. So it's like
Gotcha.
the Tatsunoko Justice League versus the Tatsunoko Villain League, Legion of Doom, whatever it's called. So
Gotcha.
it's really, really cool, and the animation's really, really nice. So I'm definitely gonna keep this one up. I wish that I could watch it without commercials because I already have like a bunch of different services that I don't have to listen to commercials for. So I'm probably gonna wait for this one and just go ahead and buy it because I already like G-Force. I already like where it's going, and I want to watch it without commercials. So
I might see if I can pick it up. That way, at least someone can talk about it at the end of the season, see what's going on with it, see where it's heading towards.
yeah, if you pick it up, then I'll go ahead and sit through the commercials and watch it all to the end. But if you don't, then I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the list because it's a really, really good show, really, really nicely animated, and I don't want to keep getting those commercial breaks breaking up the action. So
Yeah. Well, I might. I'll let you know. I'll give it at least. I'll give it a shot.
yeah.
If I can actually stand, if it's good enough and I'm not bothered by the CG, I give it a shot and continue it. So
Yeah, so I'll say definitely TubiTV or Viz.com or whatever it's called.
yeah, I'll probably go to Viz.
The next show we're going to be talking about is Inuyashiki.
Ashiki.
Yes.
This one mine? No. Oh. No, I meant to pick this one up, but
Yep.
again, this one's on Anime Strike, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So
When I was looking over animes that I talked about how I wanted to see, I was like, I know there's one I'm missing, and then I came across it and I looked it up and they were like, Anime Strike, son of a damn it. I hate you, Amazon. Stop taking these shows.
So, yes, you will definitely like this. There's one weird thing about it. It switches back between 2D and CG, like almost every other scene. Like there's this dog, and like in some scenes the dog's like 2D, and I'm like, ah, look at the puppy. And then it switches over, and I'm like, ah, look at the robot. And then it switches again, I'm like, ah, it's a puppy again. So like me, I'm like I went to school for 3D, so I can see the difference between 2D and 3D. And it's like just it's like, oh, now he's a CG dog. Oh, now he's 2D. Oh, now he's CG. Oh, now he's 2D. And then like they just keep switching back and forth, back and forth. It's I've gotten used to it now because the story has actually picked up to the point where I don't even care. Like the only time I notice it is when it slows down. So right now it hasn't gotten to the point of what you see in the picture in episode 3, but you know it's coming.
Storyline wise?
Yeah, so I'm gonna explain up until the picture. So basically, gotcha. The old man, he's basically like he's an elderly father. So like he looks like he's in his 50s going on 60s, and he has kids who are in high school. Huh. The wife, she looks like she might be in her 40s or so or something like that. And everybody treats the dad like garbage. It sucks. it's all the episode begins almost like Kotora, where it's just sad and all these bad things are happening, and you're like, come on, dude, and it's all slow. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this up. And then he finds a dog, and he finds a dog. He's like, I got a dog now. Just somebody who'll just give him affection because his family's just terrible. And he takes the dog home, and he's like, hey, everybody, I got a dog. And they're all like, oh, we don't want a dog. They're like, blah, 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 blah. So, the dog keeps barking at certain things. Like, there's weird things happening in the neighborhood, and the dog keeps barking. So everybody's all like, keep him outside or whatever. So he keeps the dog in his room. And then he takes the dog out to the park for a walk one night. And he ends up coming across that guy in the picture. And they're both just out at night, like, just, I don't know, looking at the stars or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this alien spaceship, like, slams on its brakes and just, like, vroom, and, like, the whole world's, like, dimension splitting kind of stuff. And then they end up crashing into those two guys, disintegrating them. And they're like, oh, crap. We hit two people. They're like, what are we gonna do? They're like, oh, I don't know. Do we have like replacement bodies? And they're like, oh, we only got these two weaponized units. They're like, whatever, let's get out of here. And he like puts the two guys back and it just teleports off somewhere else. And I'm like, that's actually super funny. Like some just like some drunk aliens just accidentally slammed into the earth for a second and like disintegrated two people. So I was like, that was super cool. So the guy and the old guy wake up later on, and they start noticing like things are kind of off, and then they finally realize that they're both like these androids and everything, and one person uses it for good, one person uses it for evil, and across the next two episodes, you see those two sides kind of intertwine. And then they actually confront each other, and then one dude just takes off, and you're like, go get him! And the other person doesn't know how to use their powers all the way, so he can't. So I'm like, this show is good. I'm continuing it, definitely. So
maybe at some point when Amazon doesn't have a stranglehold on it anymore, I might be able to pick it up. Freaking Amazon.
But yeah, it is so cool. I could definitely see where it's going. It had a pretty violent begin. Isn't this season like the season of violence, cracked cell phones, and like blood? Because I'm like,
well, it is like the Halloween time frame.
I guess so. There's so many violent shows this season. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, trust me. Well, I know we're gonna get to it, but did you look into King's Game?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no.
Oh my God.
You say violent, that's the first thing that pops into my mind. Is I'm like, that was like uber, like holy crap.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of times like When They Cry kind of thing.
Yeah. So definitely gonna check it out. I can't wait to see both of them like get control of their powers and actually do some proper fights. But yeah.
Well, it's a learning process. You know how it is always in the beginning when someone gets a new ability or powers or whatever. They aren't quite sure how to use them. They gotta do some little staggering around. Eventually they'll get the hang of it.
So yeah, this is a great show. Next show we're gonna be talking about is Juuni Taisen, or what is it called?
Or what is it called?
The Zodiac War one.
Zodiac Wars, yeah. Zodiac Wars. Did you watch this one?
Yes.
This one's nuts. This is one of the ones I remember watching it, and after like the first two episodes, I'm thinking to myself, I'm hoping Big D isn't like his usual and gets that whole favorite character thing, because it seems like every time you start getting involved with the character, it's like, oh no, they're dead.
Yep, that happened very first episode.
Oh, no, they're dead. Yeah, literally, you're learning all this stuff. I'm like, okay, so this is the main character. This is the one we're rooting for. This is the one and it's like, no.
And she's dead.
and that one's dead. And that one's dead. I'm like, some of them I agree totally with. I'm like, okay, yeah, that person needed to die. That person probably is better off not. Yeah, let's just continue on there. And I'm just like, holy crap. But like, even though it's an uber violent, because dear Lord, is it uber violent? Just with like it's the first person dying all of a sudden out of nowhere with like a what is it? They got pretty much got skewered through or something. That one lady just basically cut throat, and I'm like, what the hell? And of course, seeing that one dude was decapitated, I was just like, holy crap. Yeah. But I'm liking, even though we keep losing people every time we learn about them, basically, I am liking the backstory on them. You know what I mean? I'm liking to learn they're all, even though they're all warriors, even though they're all in it to like kill each other eventually to and whatnot, the fact that they're all very unique in their own way and what they can do and their abilities and their powers and their personalities are all different. It really makes me like you really kind of feel for it and you kind of get involved with it, which is great. I will say the main dude who's in charge of it, I guess, I don't like he's kind of annoying.
Everybody clap your hands.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not the time or place for that. This is serious business here, and you're like, it's like a carnival for you or something. I'm like, I expected his character seems like it would be in place of like Ringling Brothers or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, seriously, dude, you're not supposed to be here. Who's the person that's supposed to be here? Because you're not it, obviously. You're like a fill-in right now. But no, it's like it's very interesting, and like even with like say the monkey girl, like they even kind of humanize them in a way too. You know, they have these abilities, they have these powers, they're very well trained, they're killers and whatnot. But in the same sense, you do get to see that they are still human in their own way. So I like the fact that they didn't go too far into the superhuman type aspect of it. They just gave them like abilities and the knowledge on how to use them effectively, kind of thing.
Yeah. Every time an episode began, once I noticed that whoever talks the most in the episode is probably going to be dead at the end of the episode, I was like, as soon as it got to episode 3, I'm like, no, I like her. But then they broke the formula, so I'm like, okay, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm a little worried. I had two favorite characters. One is the old guy, because I don't know, he seemed kind of sly at the beginning, like he made a kind of weird comment, like whenever it was like, yeah, anybody have any questions? He's like, oh, I have a question, blah blah blah, and he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, they haven't shown that old guy that much. And I'm like, he looks kind of cool with bombs and stuff like that. And then the other character, they wasted her. She was so freaking cool. The way she fought at the beginning when she was younger, and then she turned into a jerk, and then she died. And I'm like, what happened? But yeah, I do like how we don't really know where everybody is, and there's some people who keep showing up over and over, and you can tell that they're gonna be like long-lasting characters. But then I do like that you don't know where everybody else is. So, and
they're not really showing, like, there's something, the two characters that everyone's afraid of, one being the rabbit dude.
Yeah.
And at least you know why that is. You've seen that. You're like, oh crap, he resurrects people to fight for him. You know, that's pretty messed up. But then the bull, he's the slaughter king or like the
ox?
Yeah.
The dude with the little goalpost on his head.
Everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen really a reason as to why, I feel.
Other than that, everybody he met is dead already. Other than that, no.
You haven't seen it. I'm like, what is it that he does?
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Everyone does something. I want to know, what does he do? What is his thing? Because like everyone's got like something for them as a special ability, a power of some sort. And I'm just like, if he's the one everyone's afraid of, we know why they're afraid of the rabbit dude. We don't know why they're afraid of him. Yeah. And I want to know what is his deal. What is it that makes him as efficient a killer as he is? Yeah.
Another person I want to know about is the mouse. So I'm like,
yeah.
All he did is go to the grocery store and sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's something about him. There's something about him that he is at least competent in what he can do.
Yeah.
So, because you know by now, especially after the was it the rooster?
Yeah.
You know, because she had that vibe of I don't know what I'm doing, but you knew she in the end you're like, okay, no, she definitely knows what it is that she's doing.
I do like
So
how her trick backfired on her, because when
yeah,
she came across that dude, she was like, I think I should run, and her body's like, bring it, and she's like, no,
yeah,
what are you doing?
yeah,
We gotta get out
yeah,
of here. And
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
come on, man. I'm like, I love how her body betrayed her. It was great.
It's like since she looked like she didn't know what she was doing, but she did know what she was doing. The fact that this mouse, the rat dude, looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, or at least doesn't care about what he's doing, you know for a fact he's got something going on.
Oh yeah,
He's got to have something going on. So yeah, I'm curious about him too. So
cool.
curious what the dynamic between him and the monkey is going to end up being.
Yeah, I'm like, they haven't really showed a lot of the other people. Like, they've
Yeah.
shown them in, like, a scene here or there, but they haven't actually gotten into their character. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious, like, these 4 people who are about to fight right now, how many of them are they going to kill off? And then if they kill off most of them, then are we just going to switch to all of the other characters? Or
I don't know.
are they all going to
the
split up and each person's going to confront one of the last few characters remaining?
I feel like the monkey's going to be a long-lasting character.
Hmm.
I feel like she's going to survive. She's probably going to survive, and then she's going to have a tragic end towards the end.
Okay.
I can see that. Because she's the most human out of all of them, in a way, that I've seen so far, at least. I feel like the monkey, the ox, maybe the old dude, and like one other is going to be like towards the end, where we're going to be like Battle Royale at the end here.
Yeah. I don't think the cheetah's going to do anything.
I think this fight that they're having right now with the monkey and the rat, I think the rat's gonna bite it.
I hope not. He has so much potential.
He does, and I want to see what he does, but I think that he's gonna bite it simply because he doesn't. Well, either he's gonna bite it or the monkey's gonna bite it because she's going to try to help him.
Okay.
And that's going to be her tragic end. So either way, one of them in this scenario is gonna not come through. I have a feeling.
Okay.
They're not gonna both come out of this.
All right. Yeah, this is cool. I like how you can't tell right away because they've built up each character so much that it'll hurt no matter who dies next.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I hope the rest of the characters get enough, like that much development too. Like, I don't want the other ones to just be like, okay, now we got 6 people left, and they just go through all of those people without developing them.
I think there's going to be some development for each one, I feel like. But I think it's going to be just like all the other ones, where it's going to be like, develop, dead, develop, dead, develop, dead.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I would like for them to do that too, because they did that for the first 3 episodes. Then after this battle, then the next 3 episodes, you meet each person as they die, and then you get Team A versus Team B, and then they all go at the end.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be a nice little wrap up for 12 episodes, if it's going to be that long.
I feel like it's going to be a 12 episode.
Cool. All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Kekai Sensen and Beyond, or Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond.
Yes. I know this one's probably all me on this one, isn't
it?
Yeah, I figured. So, I mean, in the first season, there was a major happening. There was a major focus. Basically their whole world was about to come to an end. They stopped it, obviously. But now the second season, it seems like we're kind of dealing with the fallout of what happened on the first season, and then also I don't know. It's like there's no so far. I'm 4 episodes into it. So far, there is no definitive direction that it's going in. It's not like, oh, this is going to be the some major battle coming up. This is the main villain. No, it seems like this is like you know the characters, and they're like at this point they're like, okay, now you're just going to see them going on missions, which I'm totally fine with. Like, I literally love the scene of, like, you're seeing more backstory between each character. You're learning more about the world and the variouses. Like, there's so much potential for just absolute craziness that you're entertained. You don't know what to expect because there's always just something else going on, but you're entertained and you don't care as long as you're going along with the ride. It's just it's insanity, but at the same time it's controlled chaos, I'd say.
Okay.
Like for instance, one of the episodes so far that they've had was right when the apocalypse of how the city itself transformed into what it did happened. There was a hospital because the two of the guys that were at the start of this whole thing came across a kid. I think it was an infant almost. It was a young kid basically, and they took him to the hospital because they didn't know where else to take him, and they wanted to make sure he was okay. And in the process of taking him to the hospital, there was a demon and his demon dog that came to the hospital. And they went out and met the demon on his own, but the demon dog escaped or went to the hospital. So just when they were trying to get to the hospital so that we could protect the people that were inside there, everything, like, all of a sudden the hospital and everything around them disappeared. And they were in the middle of town. It's like they got transported. Then later on in this episode, the hospital reappears out of nowhere, just like materializes, and they're like, is this the same hospital? And then they end up finding out, like, the characters that were inside there, a lot of them ended up dying because of the demon dog that came in. But there was another, like, I guess some sort of like some being that basically came to the hospital because it was wanting some of the demons that it had that had been during like the transition between the world becoming what it was. The demon world and our world kind of like collided, kind of thing. So there was casualties on both sides. Well, this entity wanted to take care of some of the demons that had been hurt, so it came to the hospital. But already the demon dog had come through and killed most everyone in there. And what it ended up doing is it actually, I guess in a sense, resurrected and or healed the doctors that were in there and gave them abilities. So then all of a sudden the hospital came back up into full service. So now this hospital not only served humans, but now also served like otherworldly beings, kind of thing as well. So it was interesting because like then when the female doctors that they had met all of a sudden gained the ability to actually split herself off into multiple versions of herself. So then, like, because they didn't have enough staff to be able to run the hospital effectively, so now all of a sudden she kept splitting herself off into multiple different people, and that was their staff. So it was interesting. It was kind of cool. And then, like, towards the end of that episode, the demon and the dog ended up reappearing, and they had to, like, take care of, finalize the business that they couldn't take care of back when the everything went down before. But like, you learned how when the apocalypse between this city happened, when things collided, what happened and what was going on during that time frame. Because like literally the whole city was rearranging itself. Buildings were like literally lifting up off the ground and floating as the city itself rearranged itself to match up with the fact that this other world was colliding with our world, kind of thing. So yeah, it was just stories like that, and then just like other ones where you meet one of the other characters who I don't know if they really explained it in the first season, but you end up finding out she's actually like part werewolf or something like that.
Okay.
But you never see her like transform. You always see her, but she's always like very fast, very strong. And then you end up finding out that she's actually part of a covert team that will infiltrate into areas. But like, and I've never heard this as far as an ability with werewolf, but I'm kind of glad that they did, because it's something new and interesting. So basically, they gave the werewolves the abilities to blend, but it goes like even further, where it's like not only can you not see them, they can literally negate their existence to a certain extent, to where it's not even like infrared will pick them up. Literally nothing will pick them up. Literally they're like invisible to thoughts, even almost to that point. And then it was funny too, because she was training somebody to do what she does as far as like covert jobs and stuff like that. She's also another werewolf as well. And I didn't realize it at the time, but she was talking to her about because when they start negating their existence to a certain extent, they sometimes need something to actually bring themselves back.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
They start negating their existence to a point where literally people forget that they even existed, kind of thing. So what ended up happening was, and it was absolutely hilarious too how it happened, but she did it. She had to actually negate her existence to a huge extent. So they had to have something to bring her back. Well, to bring her back, her I guess her anchor was someone had to walk into her apartment, because you see her walk into her apartment at one point and there's like literally garbage like everywhere, like the whole place is a mess, but she came in through the window. Apparently it's because she can, so she just does. She never comes through the front door. So they had somebody, one of their team, go to with a message saying, knock on the door, enter, and say you're coming in to visit. And just because of that, because their place was a mess and they didn't want people to see their place a mess, that caused them to come back. And all of a sudden you see them like trying really desperately to grab all the garbage and everything and like push it away. They're like, no, don't enter. And then like they threw a chair at him to have him leave. And everyone's like, all right, you brought her back. Good job. And he was like, what the hell? Because he'd actually forgotten that she'd even existed. So they just told him, I want you to go to this door, knock on it, and then say, hey, I'm coming in to visit. That's literally all you have to do. And that's what caused her to come back. And then he threw a chair and he's like, why did she throw a chair at me? What happened? I'm confused.
That's funny.
But it was like to the point where like she had actually, right before this happened, she had to the main office had delivered a vase for some flowers for the guy that is kind of like their butler, I guess, in this area. And because she had negated her existence, the vase itself had changed.
Huh.
Because it wasn't her that actually delivered the vase, so it wasn't the same vase until she came back, and then the timeline recorrected itself.
Huh, that's interesting.
See, that's just like the crazy things that happen, and these to the extent of like, you know, and it's common occurrence to them in this world, but it's all just absolute nuts. So
yeah, that's kind of hard to wrap my head around, because it's like it's a mixture between like time travel kind of and like multiple universes like blending in.
Literally, this is just in the span of one episode.
Ah.
So it's like literally each episode has, and you think they kind of rush through it, but it feels almost like they give it just enough time to do what they need to do. You have to think about it a little bit sometimes, but it's literally just enough time to do what it is that they need to do. So this is why I like this series. I think it's underrated in its sense because people don't think much of it. But like if they could continue on just in this fashion, because I think in the first season they had a goal. It was very goal oriented, very focused. They still had a little bit of play with certain things and where you're meeting characters and whatnot. But now that they have the characters
established already,
they're like, you know what, we're just gonna do this is their job. Their job is to keep order in this city and to take care of things that need to get taken care of that are otherworldly, that you would not be able, like normal people would not be able to do. So these little jobs and these little things that happen, this is what happens.
Ugh.
So yeah, now that I think they're more established in their anime and whoever, I don't know who does this one, I can't remember. Bones, yeah. You know, it looked too, anyways. But you know, now that they're established in this anime and they know what they're doing and they have a groundwork, I think now they're just like, you know what, let's just have nice little fun little adventures going through here and just see what happens. So
cool.
Yeah, I like it.
One day I will get back to it. Let's see. The next show we're going to be talking about is Kino's Journey, The Beautiful World, the animated series.
Yes. Have you watched on this one?
Yes.
Okay.
3 episodes in, I think.
This is one you're gonna keep, isn't it?
So because I really like, this one depends on you again. If you watch it all, then I gotta watch it all because I kind of don't want to be spoiled. But ideally, I would like to watch the first series and then come back to this one. But it doesn't. You don't have to do that because everything's like episodic. So it's kind of one of them things where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, but you could tell because you didn't watch the original one, and when I was telling you about this one, now you know why I said this is a really, really good series.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was even telling about this one, saying to me it's almost like watching Doctor Who, kind of. Mm-hmm. Because he's traveling to, for him, for Doctor Who, is like traveling to different worlds or meeting different people and whatnot. But in this one, he's driving to different states, different cities, but it's still kind of the same realm, I kind of think, like, because he kind of helps things along, he kind of fixes things, or he does things in such a way. I know he's not like completely. And then it's the same with Doctor Who. He didn't always like fix things. He more or less just took care of a problem as it was when he was there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's the same realm. And each of these cities he's going into are completely different from each other. And it's always interesting to see. It's like the cities themselves are almost characters onto themselves.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for me. I'm like, okay, what is this city? What is it? What is their thing? What is it that they do? And you don't always expect. It's the twists that sometimes that you don't always see and expect. And you're like, oh, wow, that's like completely... like the city where people were murdered. How did they put it? There's a specific way they put it, and it wasn't until you thought about it that you're like, oh, that's what they were meaning about that.
Yeah.
Because it almost made it seem like they were like, oh, you can kill anybody you want. It's like, no, not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite. Because it ended up being where it's a city of people who have kill, essentially, where it's no one balks at it, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if someone comes along causing trouble, then everyone descends on that person to take care of business. They want to keep their town peaceful, but that's why I think they were willing to say to want Kino to stay there, because they recognize the fact that he is that type of person who can do that. Yeah. And who isn't wanting to actually instigate that to begin with. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's so very interesting to see the different places he goes, the problems he comes across, and how he handles them and what comes of it are all just like I think this show was very aptly named when they say Kino's journey, because it is a journey. Yeah. And you're like, you don't know what to expect. You're just like him. You don't know what to expect, but you're in it just like him, just to see what's going to happen. So
I think like in episode 3, how there's like that giant trash can that's just like moving across the world, and they're kind of justified in what they're doing. They're like, oh, well, this is the way we live. Like, if other people get in the way, then so like too bad for them. And
but it's not like they're being purposefully like mean about it. They're just like, well, we have a direction. This is where we're going. Yeah. Someone's in the way, they're in the way, but we're not invading them. We're not purposely trying to actually take over anything. Yeah. We're just moving. That's all we're doing. Yep. Literally, that's all we're doing.
Yep. And they're like, we're going to try not to cause as much destruction as possible, but if you're in the way, you're in the way. And I was... Yeah. It's one of the things where it's like, I'm on like kind of both sides, where I'm like, but if my thing's in the way, I can't move it in like 2 hours. Like, go around. But if there's no way to go around, then I'm like, I guess I'm screwed then. Let me get my stuff out of the house, and y'all can just go by. It's one of them, like, and like even Kino's kind of like that too. Like whenever they ran into that, he was like, "Well, what's gonna happen?" They're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna keep going." And he's like, He was kind of like on the fence, where he's like, "It's kind of cool, but like kind of like jerky to be just smashing through stuff like that." Yeah. And then when they started attacking back, then he's like, "Well, I'm a help these guys out, because I'm kind of on this."
They were already leaving your area, and you still wanted to,
retaliate.
You were attacking them. So now, before he wasn't going to help in any way, shape, or form, because he's like, well, I don't necessarily feel right about this. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't feel right about it. But then when the people started attacking, he's like, well, they're already leaving, damage is done, and you're attacking them even though they're not doing anything further to you, so now I'll help them. Yeah. So it's a very, I like that though. It makes you question. You have to think about that, because you feel like you're in Kino's place, and you're like, what would I do? Yeah. Would that be the same thing I would do? Would I feel okay about that, or would I be like, I don't know? Yeah. So it's to me, this is a very, very interesting anime, because when those types that actually make you think about that sort of thing, about like, do you think it's justifiable? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think, those types of things, like, yeah, okay, that you have my full and undivided attention as far as what is going to happen here, because, wow.
Yeah, and I do like how it's not fully predictable. Like, The one where people just had to keep fighting each other. I kind of had an idea of what he was doing. Like on day 2, he was like prepping stuff, and I'm like, I think I know what he's gonna do, because he kind of slyly asked like a question real quick as he was entering the situation, and I'm like, why did he ask that? And then I'm like, because he's not gonna be he's not gonna be in the stands, so why would he have to worry about a situation like that happening? And then he just started prepping for it, and he's like, well, according to you guys' rules, this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen, and then he just leaves, and I'm like,
Yeah.
That was amazing. So
Yep. He's like, I don't agree with how you guys are doing things, and I don't like the fact that you pretty much put somebody that I knew into harm's way because of that. So I'm gonna get rid of the person who can negate this, and I'm gonna say, anyone who wants to be the next king, you have to be the last one standing.
yeah, and with that episode, I loved that I was kind of already like guessing what was gonna happen. But then the episode after that with the trash can just like moving everywhere, I was like, what's going on? These people are weird. I don't really trust these guys. And then I'm like, I still don't really trust these guys, but I'm okay with them like being somewhere far away from me now. So this show is really, really thought provoking, just like you said. So I'm definitely gonna watch it. It depends on you. It depends on you when, because I wanna.
I'm gonna be watching this one.
Okay.
I can't stop on this one.
Okay, I'll go ahead and finish this one up.
Especially with this. So you've only watched the first like 3 episodes, right?
Yeah.
You haven't watched this last one.
Yeah.
Especially, I watched the 4th episode. How that one ends, I'm like, I can't stop. No. Yeah. So pick it up. I will say. If you want to watch the first season, by all means. I don't think you necessarily need to. But I'd probably at least give you some heads up on certain things. But at the same time, I think watching this, I mean, I'll still watch the whole season, and I might go back to the first season afterwards.
Yeah, there's one thing that I was kind of wondering about. When they were talking about meeting a lady with a carriage, and like before that was a couple, and then it was just a woman by herself.
Yeah.
Did that happen in this series and I just can't remember, or did it happen like previously?
It was the first season that happened in.
Oh, okay. See, that's one of them things where
I still think it gave you enough heads up that you got the gist of why that was important.
Okay.
Of what that was meaning, because you could tell. I don't even remember that episode myself, but it was, the fact that he said when he first met them, he met him as a couple, and then they wanted to go to the city, so he knew where they were going.
Yeah.
And then later on, though, when he met up with her, it was just her, and that's the reason why. So now he understood that. Mm-hmm. He understood what had happened. The fact that she was the only one who ended up making it out, and he ended up dying, so that way she could survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm probably going to just go ahead and find the first series and just watch it, just so I can get all the callbacks, and then I can continue the rest of this series like knowing all of the stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But this show is really, really great, and I definitely want to finish this like soon. The next show we will be talking about is Kujira no Kora wa Sajo ni Utau, or Children of Whales.
Okay, this is all you on this one.
Yes.
I was glad as you were saying that. I'm like, okay, I'm lost. What show is this? Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah. So Children of Whales. This show is actually on Netflix. So that means they won't be having it available for streaming for probably 6 months or so.
I guess there's at least a time frame on like Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon actually does simulcasting. So that's the one thing that Amazon has that's good. Netflix, most people have Netflix and stuff like that. So it's whenever it's released, then you can watch it. The only problem is they won't release it until the end of the season. So this is one of these shows where I wish that they would simulcast, because in Japan they simulcast. But in Japan, having a weekly show is the way streaming goes. That's the way TV is run. So yeah. So I went and found the show, and I watched it, and oh my god, it is so gorgeous. I can't wait until the show finally gets released because it's very interesting. Basically, in the first episode, you meet the main characters and stuff like that, and they slowly like start explaining the situation with like they start explaining the world. So basically, from what I saw, the entire world is covered in sand. And
Interesting.
yeah, and everybody lives on these giant like mobile rocks and stuff like that, and it's it's like this. It's like this.
Sorry, the first you say that, and the first thing that pops in my mind is SpongeBob SquarePants with the moving rocks. Oh, they used to take these things for miles and miles. I'm like, oh my god.
But yeah, it's more like a I don't know. It's like a mountain that's like shaped like a ship. And it's I don't know, it's weird. And like whenever they come across different things like other sand ships or things like that, then or other just mountains like just off, it's so weird like the way to describe it, because the sand is like water because they're just gliding across it, and these other things you would see would be islands. But I guess it is an island. It's hard to explain. But whenever they come across an island or another ship, they would send out the little scouting boats and stuff like that, and they would keep their distance because the whole village is on the ship. And in the first episode, they come across this island and they find this girl, and there's a bunch of people who have been killed. And the girl doesn't know anything. I think they speak the same language, but there's some kind of weird barrier between them.
Okay.
She tries to attack this one dude, but like passes out before she kills him. And then the dude's like, "Hey, I found this girl. Let's bring her onto the ship." And I'm like, "What are you doing? She just had a knife to your throat. What?" I'm like, "Okay." And then he doesn't tell anybody that she tried to kill him. So I'm like, this main character's stupid. Oh, I hate him. So it's one of the like silly main characters that we're gonna be following. They're in the society that's on the boat, I'm gonna call it. There are people who can use magic and people who can't. And the people who have this power of magic, their lifespan is drastically reduced. Like they live into their 20s or something like that. They have rules and everything in their society. One of the thing, of course, there are like these little hooligans and like this rowdy teenagers and stuff like that that are always causing trouble according to the rules of the society, and they keep getting put like inside the bottom of the ship where for some reason they can't use their magical powers. And they only get like short sentences. It's not like, oh, you killed somebody, you get a life sentence. They're like, oh, you did something, whatever, and then you get time out and put you in the bottom of the boat for like a week or something like that. And then
so like are the rules for the society like at least reasonable, or are they like?
I feel like they're too lax, because I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember what he did. Like these, I don't know what these like rowdy kids did, but they keep getting in trouble and they keep putting in the bottom of the ship like in timeout. And I'm like, well, like, I don't know, because it's like, it's not like you can kick them out, because then they'll just be on the sand and they'll probably sink and die. So they didn't do anything that's really enough to put their like to give them a death sentence. But I don't know, it's like maybe they stole some food or something like that, and they're like, go to the bottom of the ship for like a week. So I feel like the rules are kind of lax. But once they find this island and bring that girl back, those guys, they just happen to get released that same day. And the dude's like, "Oh, awesome, we're getting out of here." So they finally have a place to go that's not on the ship. So he basically kind of kidnaps the main character. The main character kind of wants to go with them just because it's something different, something new. So yeah, because it's one of the things where it's like he's the only person who knows where the island is. So if he didn't want to go, they would have kidnapped him. But he kind of wants to go too, because he wants to spend more time on the island, find out what's over there. So he kind of just goes along with them. And that's where the first episode ends. So I feel like it's a really cool concept, a really cool world, and I don't have any issues with it at all. Like the animation's gorgeous. The character designs are gorgeous. There's like these bright pastel colors, and everything just looks really, really, really good. So in 6 months or so, whenever Netflix releases it, I'm gonna definitely watch the whole thing.
Interesting. So I mean, it's, from the way you're describing it, as far as the looks of it go, it almost sounds like No Game No Life.
Yeah, somewhat. I haven't seen No Game No Life in such a long time, but I would say yeah.
Uh,
There's like this like washed out style that's covering the whole thing. With No Game No Life, it was kind of like sky blue and pink, and with this show,
yeah.
it's like they took like each character has their own kind of like washed out color,
Huh.
kind of.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a very interesting looking show, and I definitely want to check it out.
Gotcha.
The next show we're going to be talking about is Mahotsukai no Yomen, or The Ancient Magus's Bride.
Yes, this one. I don't know why. I have not seen a lot of people talking about this, and I don't know why. Have you?
No, not really.
See, I don't know why. This is like, I don't know why this isn't being. This seems very underrated. I really think so.
Yeah.
This is just an amazing show. I enjoy it in the same sense of kind of like with the Blood Brigade. It's just always something new, something interesting going on. Some way it's traveling. And I'm like, I just want to know. I want to see what's going on. And the characters themselves are very interesting, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know more about the Magus. I want to know what's going on with him, why he's doing, like, what there seems like a whole bunch of underlying things that's going on that you're just not aware of at the moment, because you're kind of in the same boat as the girl. And the fact that you're everything is new and fresh, and she doesn't know what's going on, and you get that sinking feeling that something else is happening, and it isn't until like it gets revealed that you're like, oh, that's why, kind of thing. Like for instance, with her and the Fae, when they were leading her out into the woods, and I was like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. Something about that doesn't seem right. But they were in the house, so maybe that's okay.
Yeah, at a certain point, I thought they were talking about like, oh, our house is like a shed or something like that, or it's like, oh, it's in the backyard. Come to the backyard with us. And then after a while, I'm like, y'all are getting kind of far away from the house. Like, it's it's getting dark.
What's going on here? And then all of a sudden that steps, and you're like, oh, okay. But it's like they still weren't. It wasn't with malice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it was with malice. I believe she has a strong hold, even if she doesn't realize it or can't do it. She has a strong hold on them, and they're afraid of that. They're afraid of somebody teaching her or potentially using her to have a hold on them. Yeah. Which is why they were trying to take her away, because they felt it was safer that way. I don't even think they would ever hurt her or have abused her in any sort of way. I think that it was purely for their own self-preservation in that regards. That's how I see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the Magus needs he's saying they're a dying breed, and he wants an apprentice to be able to pass on his information and being able to have another person. I'm just like, there's something else. There's something else with this, because you're being very dedicated in that regards.
Yeah.
There's something else.
The urgency seems a little high.
Yeah. So I'm curious, and he is saying, oh, I'm going to take you as a bride or whatever. But I'm like, again, it's like something else is going on. And I'm curious about that, and I want to know what's going on. But the things that you see with her and the experiences that you make with her, and each little thing you realize more and more how horrible her life was before she got taken in by him. It almost reminds me of Natsume and his life. Mm-hmm. How when he was a kid and no one would believe him, and he would see these things, and it became such a drag both mentally and physically for him. It's the same thing with her. She sees these things. She had no idea why, but she did, and no one believed her, and it just became such a physical and mental. And then on top of that, having her mother kill herself.
Yeah, they haven't like gone deep into that explanation for
No,
that. So
they
I'm like,
haven't.
I
But
really want to know.
it happened, and you know it was a detrimental thing on her and everything. So, but like, and just the looks of it, I feel like this is like Harry Potter all over again. Just because like she's learning about magic, you're seeing these new things, and you're just like. It's exciting in its own sense and everything, and learning the different things. And I this above all else, I am so happy with the way that they have dragons in here.
Yeah.
This is one of the first times I've seen in media where dragons, they're not bad, they're beings, they're creatures, they're thought provoking. You know, it's everything that I've come to learn and love about dragons was in that one episode that they had with dragons in there, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
the way that this story is being told so far, I kind of like I'm in two places in my head because like for the initial run, like the OVA, the first 3 episodes, it's one of them things where it was she started out with being comfortable and like already knowing everybody, and then she tells the story of her past, like why a certain book was important to her. And
Yeah.
it's really cool how she comes across this library and meets this guy, gets the book, and you get to see like her think fondly of the library because it's something that's very important to her. It was like her escape from
Yeah. Oh,
the
absolutely.
abuse and everything that she was having at home, and it's
Yeah.
really sad. It's just like how it reminds you of Natsume. It reminds me of Kotora from another song, and
Yeah.
it's more like Natsume because it's monsters and stuff like that, but it's like the parents part and stuff like that. Because I haven't seen Natsume, it definitely reminds me of Kotora.
Yeah. No, I
And
can see that.
one thing that's really cool is that some of those monsters are freaking me out too. Because
Yeah.
like there was one that was
Imagine
like
them as a kid.
yeah, and it's like there was one that was half of a head laying in a pile of hair with an arm sticking out of it, and I'm like, what in the world is that? And like
Yeah.
they don't each monster that you see like that doesn't last long enough for you to figure out exactly what it is or what it's trying to do. It's just she's like ugh and just runs off somewhere, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was. Okay, I'm glad we're off somewhere else away from that thing, but please don't run into any more. And she just keeps like
Yeah.
coming across all these like horror situations. So I love how the library was the sanctuary for her, and like she started to kind of become comfortable somewhere in the world. And
As you feel for her in that regards. I mean, you really feel how just horrible her life was in that, and the fact that she actually had a place where she could get away and not have to worry about that, not have to fear about all these monsters or creatures, and still feel normal, I guess, in a sense.
yeah,
You
because
know?
even at the beginning, she didn't trust the library at all.
No.
And it
Mm-mm.
took like a while for her to get comfortable. And then once she finally got comfortable, of course, all good things must come to an end. So it was kind
Yeah.
of sad for that. But she did, like, then once that whole situation's over, there's a gap because this series now that just started, it's when she first met the Magus, like how she got
Mhm.
bought at an auction and stuff like that. And it's cool that she's finally going to another place that's safe because we have history with her, and we're like, oh my god, where is she? Like, what has she been going through all this time? Um, so it's good that she has a new safe place, but then there's also like there are some dangers there, like with the fairies and stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
there's this whole weird thing where it's like the Magus, he's an unknown character. You don't know exactly everything about him, and then he just kind of shows up, takes her, and leaves, and there's like a rush. So
Well, I get the fact. I think in that sense also too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still way more going on as far as that goes. But I also think that he was in a rush because he knows how valuable and precious she is,
yeah,
and how much people will want to come after her, will want her.
yeah.
So I think that's his. He was just trying to get her away from that as soon as possible, simply because he was more afraid of what. If the longer he lingered, the more danger there would be in that regards.
Okay.
So I
That's
could
true.
kind of see that. He's kind of protecting her in that regards, but I think he's protecting her without telling her everything.
Yeah, he's not telling her anything. He's just like, "You're gonna learn magic now," and also, oh, by the way, we're getting married. She's like,
Yeah,
"What?" So,
yeah. Well, and I think in that sense too, I think and it's kind of how they touched on it in the OVA that they had originally, is that he is not like, he's very wise, has a great deal of control of magic, but I think human social standards, he's like a child.
yeah,
Very low on the totem on that, as far as human socialization and understanding the ins and outs, because I think he's lived for a very long time, and I think in that sense, if he's lived for a very long time, he's secluded himself for so long, he's still used to the older ways of doing things, and he's still very new as far as that goes. So, and I'm assuming here soon will basically, I think where we're at now in the series, I think is pretty much within like an episode or so where that OVA would have taken place.
yeah. That's one thing that I'm glad that hopefully it like syncs up pretty soon.
Yeah,
Cause like I want to know where the dog is, and
yeah,
that's the only character that's
I think,
missing so far.
yeah. And I think like again, I think we're within like an episode or two where that's gonna pop up.
Yeah, cause
And then once we get to that point, then we'll sync up with the OVA, and then we'll move on from there. I think
cool.
so. But
Um,
again, I really feel like this is a very underappreciated series this season. I think this is probably one of the top ones up there. Within at least the top three easily.
yeah,
And it's not being very, very talked about, and people aren't very paying much attention to it. So I'm kind of disappointed in that, because I'm like, why?
hmm.
Watch this series. This is amazing stuff. So,
So what? I guess where do you think this is going? Is this like
well, I mean, as he has said, the Maguses are a dying breed. Said there's not very many out there, and I think it's because of how, and they kind of they touched on it a little bit, the fact that there's a difference between a Magus and a sorcerer. How Maguses use the Fae and to help do their work and stuff, whereas a sorcerer is more about the miracles and manipulation of the energy around them, kind of thing. So I
uh-huh.
think there's going to be like a conflict in between that, and it's I don't know.
Yeah,
It's more or less finding out in the world how in the world Maguses fit in, and whether or not she's going to go for it.
uh,
Because he said it's up to her. He said you are going to learn magic, but what you do with it, and so that's entirely up to you.
mm,
So you have the potential. It is your choice how you want to do that. What do you want to do with it?
mhm.
And then he did say you're going to be my bride, but I think he did say that I think it was more or less he was making his intentions clear, but the fact that he wanted to woo her, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to take my time on this, but I want you to know this is what I'm intending, kind of
Mhm.
thing. So,
Yeah, it's kind of awkward because like he technically owns her, and like she mentioned that before.
yeah.
And it's one of the things where it's like he's like, yeah, you're gonna learn magic and all this kind of stuff, and then she's like, I kind of don't have a choice, do I? And he's like, no, and I'm like, it's a little,
You don't have a choice, but
yeah,
necessarily force you into it, kind of thing. I want you to
yeah,
be wanting to do it yourself as well.
yeah,
Which, I mean, I think she kind of does. So,
yeah. So, the only threat that's out there is there's not really a threat, really. Like, he basically has to keep tabs on whatever the church has problems with.
yeah.
And other than that, I don't really see a threat. I kind of am curious
I
what
think
she
it's
was.
like I think it's like the church has like the information, the information network to know when a problem is coming up,
Yeah.
or if there's a potential issue, and they kind of keep their ear to the ground and try to figure out the stuff. And when they find one that is a potential issue, that's when they come to him and be like, okay, this isn't something we can deal with.
Mm.
We need you to deal with it.
Yeah, cause like how he like I'm trying to figure out like why are the Maguses dying out? Like, is it sorcerers versus Maguses, and that like right now none of the sorcerers are attacking him because he's kind of like in hiding and nobody knows where he is. And then once maybe they find out that the girl what's her name?
I can't remember her name.
Chiemi? Whenever he finds out that his bride is there and that she's a certain like she's has that amount of power, do you think like then the sorcerers will start attacking and stuff like that? Because
potential, and that might have been another reason why he was so quick to wanting to get away from where he was at, and why people were astonished to see him out, because he's probably been in hiding and secluded himself for as long as he has.
Yeah.
So that way he did not come into conflict in that regards.
Okay.
So, but now that he's moving around, he must know and is prepared himself for the fact that he's probably going to have confrontation and such. And he's very tricky, and he is very. You can tell he has the power there.
Yeah.
Because of the fact when she got taken by the dragon, and even though it was essentially a friend of his, kind of in a way, got taken by the dragon, he even though it was kind of a surprise for him, he was still there. He was in her shadow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, dude's awesome.
Like, oh, he's you're not going to give him the slip that easily. He is not. He is still going to keep tabs on that, and you're not. I'm like, when he came out of that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, he's still right there. You're not going to try anything funny on that regards.
Yeah.
So,
I'm ready to see like the bar raised as far as like powers and stuff like that. It was like cool that the that dragon guy was like kind of got the slight upper hand on him, and he had to like pull out a unique skill to keep it
come back.
To come back. And I'm kind of like ready to see, like, either I want to know more about how the magic works in this world, because like how he teleported, like he put his staff down and the like branches and stuff like that went over him, and then poof, they're somewhere else.
He's the they've called him the vine mage.
Ah.
So I think that's a focal point for him.
Cool. Now I'm interested. I'm like, well, what other kind of?
Oh no, they didn't call him the vine. They called him the thorn mage.
Yeah.
All those
I think
vines
somebody
had
said thorns in it.
He's a thorn mage.
Yeah. So that's it's cool. Now I'm like, what other types of mages are there? Like, can you just be a mage of anything? And this sounds awesome. Definitely. I'm glad it's on Crunchyroll, so everyone can watch it.
I can't sing a phrase about this one. It's very interesting. It's a new take on something, because you got the different magic types, and they're kind of explaining the sorcery and Magus, and like very interesting, and it has a lot of good information on it. And it just seems like it's just so underrated, and not that many people are talking about it. Needs to have more focus on it. People need to be watching the show.
Yeah,
I want to see this. I want to see this one go the distance. I want to see this one be at least a 24 episode show. I want to see it go into like at least 2 seasons, and then maybe even further, because I think it has that potential. Yeah,
the world is like unique enough to where like it could just go on for a very long time.
Oh, it could. It could.
Cool. The next show we're gonna be talking about is Netju no Susume, or Recovery of an MMO Junkie.
I'm on the fence on this one so much. I'm on the fence. I don't usually watch these type of cutesy little slice of life drama kind of things. I know this is more probably up your alley in that regards. But I'm just like, it's still interesting, because the characters, I think, are what keeps me coming back. I'm a little bit like, they're like, oh, we're matching outfits or matching. I'm like, oh god, stop. Stop. But the fact, I guess in a sense, there are some aspects of her that are relatable. Being a gamer myself, there are some aspects of that are definitely relatable.
And about the same age.
About the same age, and looking at her and everything, and I'm curious to see, like, she left her job. I'm like, did she retire from her job? Or did she just straight up leave her job? And she's talking about dipping into her savings. I'm like, did she intend to like go back to work at some point, or is she just now secluded herself? Hello, has she now just secluded herself completely to the point where she's not wanting to go back? Or I'm like, there's a lot of this I'm a little unsure about. But I think it's to me, it's just the funniness of the fact of, and it's still predictable. It's very much so. I already can tell, like, from the get-go who was who, even though they're in an MMO and they couldn't have. I'm like, okay, we already know how this is playing out. This is already, okay, you can get there. Okay. You can already tell who's who, and everything was very predictable in that regards. But it's still, at this point, to me, I'm more curious about watching to see. I'm like, okay, how long is it going to take until they figure this out? How long is it going to take until they realize who's who and what they're doing, and that they know each other already? And I want to say the end of the 4th episode, it seems like the guy's kind of getting a hint that he's like, wait a second. I think I know who my person that I'm partnered with is, because I think I know this sounds very familiar that what they're talking about. So I'm curious how that's going to go. But it's more, I guess, to me, why I'm on the fence is more of I continue watching out of just curiosity more or less than anything else.
Yeah,
I know things are going to go down. I know how it's going to play out because it's very predictable. But it's a matter of how is it going to play out and when's it going to happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really, really like this show as well. I do like how it's basically that same genre where like you experience characters in real life, but you spend a lot of time with them as their like a version of them in a game world. I also do like how it's relatable to people like us, where it's like we're older gamers and stuff like that. We have jobs, and a lot of the characters in the show are actually older gamers, and they have jobs, and they only can play in the evenings and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really interesting take on the show.
It adds a sense of realism for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically like a bunch of characters, a bunch of people playing an MMO, and the interactions that they have in life and in the game. So I do like how the main couple's like gender swapped. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the other characters. Like in the intro, you see like in the intro and sometimes in the outro, you get to see like what the person looks like outside of the game, even though during the series you haven't seen that yet.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I don't watch the intros and outros.
Yeah. So
I haven't.
So me, I'm like, I kind of like already know, but I kind of, it's one of them things where it's kind of spoiling it for me. So I'm kind of like impatient. I'm like, yeah, I want like, did they all work for the same company and they just actually happen to like be all in the same guild and not know it? That'd be cool. I've seen that as far as like people like high school characters, like they're all in the same class and they all play the same game and they didn't know it. So that's one thing where I'm like, as soon as I found out that all the characters are older, I'm like, that would be so funny if all of them worked for the same company and they just
never knew it.
Yeah. And
they're all friends in the MMO, but they never really talk to each other in real life.
Yeah. So it'd be really funny if that was the case. As far as like the relationship goes between the main characters, I do like how they want to keep to themselves because of the whole age thing came up where one character's like 10 years younger than the other, and they kind of don't want to like reveal each other's real ages and stuff like that. So because there's all these assumptions about stuff. They're like, oh, you're in your 20s, so you must be in college already, or you must be looking for a job, or this is going to happen in your life. And they're kind of like just putting all these assumptions on people. So I see how they want to keep to themselves because it's kind of like a cultural thing. But then I kind of want to be like, just tell them so we can move on, so y'all can like start the relationship, because like
just do it.
Like this whole wishy-washy, like high schooler, like, oh, I think he likes me, I don't know what I'm gonna do, kind of stuff. That can drag on a little bit too long. So yeah, it's one of the things where it's like it's a really cool show. It's a nice spin on the whole situation, and I'm definitely gonna keep watching this one because it's I like the characters, but I kind of want like events to speed up a little bit.
I like the characters. I like the look. I mean, even in their MMO and in real life, the look of the characters I like all around. I don't. They're not jarring. There's no aspects of them that I'm like, oh, why did they do that with them? And as far as most of it goes, it's pretty fine. It's just like, yeah, I think that's where my hang up on this show goes, is just the high school relationship drama kind of thing where I'm just like, oh God, just get it over with. Just move on. This is taking forever. And the one aspect I understand, and I look at that and I'm like, I'm curious just to see how long it's going to take before the truth gets revealed. And on the other hand, I'm just like, oh, Con, just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So yeah, that one's cool. Let's see. On a completely different mood, the next show we're gonna be talking about is Osama Game or King's Game, the animation.
Oh yes, this is a completely different mood. Just oh my. Very appropriate for Halloween, that's for sure. For October, very appropriate. This I didn't know what necessarily to think. I knew it was going to be something drastic. I knew it was, but I still think it kind of took me a little bit by surprise, just how drastic it was. And I think they did the same thing that they did in Higurashi, where you're like in the beginning you're like, oh, this isn't bad, this is kind of nice, what's the big deal about this? And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my god, what the hell just happened? Seriously, they don't hold back the punches on this one at all.
Nah.
They're very like, how some of them can have some animes where they've done it before, where someone hangs themselves, like in Death Note. And Death Note, they had it where someone hung themselves, but all you see is like the silhouette outline or something, or just like their feet dangling kind of thing. So you're like, what happened, but you don't get that full look.
Yeah.
This one, they don't do that. This one, they're like, we're going to show you the face, the look. We're going to show you all of it.
Yeah, they're like, look at it.
Yeah.
His tongue is out. He's drooling. Look at it.
Yeah. Eyes are popped out. Tongue's off to the side. Gargling his own. Yeah, you're just like, holy crap. Okay. And then the dude who bled to death was just like, I'm like, oh my god, you're like, your pores and blood just started coming out of everywhere. Holy crap. Again, I think as opposed to the MMO one, where I was curious just to see how long it would take for this whole relationship to come about and everything. This one, I'm morbidly curious about just like, what the hell is going to happen? What is it that, are they going to find out who the king is? Because at this point, no one knows who the king is, how they're doing this, because they're literally controlling people's minds and bodies. I'm just like, that's messed up. And then that one girl who like completely had a complete 180 on her personality.
Yeah.
When that just threw me for a loop. I'm like, oh, get the frick away from her.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So I had a small inkling that something was up when she got the text that said that she had that kissed that guy, and he was just off by himself crying. He's like, I'm gonna end it now. And then all of a sudden she just...
I can't necessarily say I blame him on that, to be fair.
Yeah, because he's already been through it. Yeah.
He's already been through this.
Yeah.
That was a hassle on its own.
Yeah.
And he just really didn't want to, they were all blaming him later on going, oh, you were going to kill her. And I'm like, he just didn't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. He was done. He was already done from the beginning before he even got to y'all. And then it started happening again. He's like, screw this. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I can't necessarily say I blame him in that regards, because crap.
Yeah,
but
and
anyways,
so he was like trying to end it all, and then the girl found him. Like, I don't know if he was like at the school on the top of the roof or something that like where most people go, but it's just, he didn't tell her where he was or anything, and she just found him. And she was like, hey! And he's like, whoa, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh yeah, hold on a second. As she's like climbing the fence, she's like, oh yeah, let me get on the other side. And I'm like, she's a little eager to be like, to not, well, I'm like, yeah, everybody should be eager not to die. But I'm like, she's kind of like,
well, but see, it was never never explained. It never is.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever said that the punishments for disobeying the king will result in death. Mm-hmm. It is never. You just get told you will get punished. That's it. Yeah. That's all you get told.
Yeah, because that's how the game actually works. Like that happened at one point where later on, I don't know how far you are into it, but they literally, someone disobeys the king, and they think that their punishment is going to be death, so they
throw themselves out of a 3rd-story window.
Yeah.
And then they get the notification that the punishment was only they had to tell their crush that they liked them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just really, really.
Yeah.
That makes me think that the king has some way of looking at them, saw that, and decided to make it a lesser punishment.
Yeah.
That's what that tells me.
Yeah. So I have an issue with this series. Me, like, I don't like horror movies and stuff like that. So this, like, I don't like, I guess, like,
Violence for the sake of violence.
yeah, like torture porn or gore porn. Like, I don't like those type of shocking movies. I like scary stuff, like atmospheric stuff. So, like, for this show, like, there was a show that came out a long time ago called Another. And I wish that this show was more like Another, where there's mystery to it. Like, you don't know.
There's still kind of mystery to it.
Yeah. There's mystery to it, but you know somebody's behind it. Like with.
You don't know that this seems like there's something not human behind this.
Well, yeah, I get that. So, like, my thing is, like, with Another, there was a curse. Like, something started the curse, and then the curse just repeats, and everybody in the classroom dies if a certain
situations.
Yeah, a certain situation is met. Then all of a sudden the curse gets enacted, and people just start mysteriously dying. And, like, yeah, some parts are a little, like, gruesome and stuff like that to watch, but it's. I feel like nobody's in control about what happens. It's kind of like, what's that? Final Destination, where it's like everything's just a freak accident. Now, the difference between, like, I like that type of scary, and I'll just not look at the screen while crazy stuff's happening, and then whenever it's all over, then I'm like, okay, now I'm back. But for this show, I feel like somebody's in control. Like, somebody's toying with these people. Like, yeah.
So basically, you're saying this is the difference. The difference in this is the difference between, say, like, Final Destination and Jigsaw.
Yeah.
This is kind of the difference.
Yeah.
It's still in the same realm.
Yes.
We're just going about it a different way.
Yeah. So, like, I would say if this show, like, yeah, it's named after a game and it's named after punishments and stuff like that, and that's fine. It's just, as far as a scary show goes, this is not my type of scary show. Like, I like the mystery.
It's still a scary show. It's just not quite way in the same realm.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, like with the scary shows I watch, I'll look away, and like with this show I'm looking away. But it's, when I look back, I feel like it's somebody's fault. Like, find out who it is and stop them, because he's making y'all do stupid stuff. Like, it's like, I don't know.
I think this is my concern. This is my thought. Right now, it's pretty piddly little stupid things, you know, kiss someone, grope someone, stuff that you probably don't want to do, but stuff that can be done without too much consequence. But I think this is the thing. The main dude that we're following, he survived. He knows, and I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen, that this is just a start.
Yeah.
When we start really getting into it and escalating, the things that are going to be required for them to do are going to be things they really, really don't want to do. Stuff that will have major consequences should they do them. But if they don't do them, then they know they're going to die. So it's kind of like one of those, you're screwed if you do and you're screwed if you don't kind of things.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm pretty sure that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg right now, and that's the reason why this guy really didn't want to do another King's game, because he knows what's going to happen towards the end of this, and he doesn't even want to be a part of that anymore. So I just see where it's kind of silly right now. You're like, okay, come on, really? Can we get away from this high school kind of drama little thing here? And, you know, obviously you're doing silly things at the same time. You're betting people's lives on this. It seems kind of just like,
it seems like a high schooler behind it. He's like, oh, what if this person kisses this person because they're in a relationship? So I'm gonna have him kiss somebody who's not their partner and stuff like that. And I feel like he's watching him or something like that, and like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. No, I get you. But I think that's just because he's just kind of warming up to it, essentially. Yeah. I can see that.
So yeah, I'm gonna leave this one to you. Like, if they like amp up the like what they're doing and stuff like that, and like it ends up being like, basically I want to hear about the rest of this from you. Like, I don't want to like spend half the episode being like, is it over? is it over? And I'm like, okay, it's over. So,
Are they dead? Are they dead? Okay, now they're dead. Okay. No, I will try. I will say that I will try to continue on with this, because I don't know. I sometimes have that as moments when I'm looking at it, going, "Do I really want to watch this? Is it really something I want to put myself through?" Yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll see if I can get through it.
Alright, cool. Next show we're gonna be talking about is something lighthearted. Food Wars, the third plate.
Ah, yes. Food Wars. It just, we're basically just going directly from where we ended on the other one, and we're continuing right along through, and we're amping things up as we go. Which, I mean, that's typical anime 101 right there. Especially if you have multiple seasons, you want to, every time you go into a new season, you want to amp it up and get to the next thing. So at this point in the series, we've already had the prelims for being the top elite, because they have their elite members of the school, and the newest entries in this, including the main character, Soma, he now has the ability to potentially get into the elite, which is great.
Yes.
But now this season is, we've now actually met the elite, because at this point, from the first and second season, you've only met two of them.
Okay.
I think the rank 10 and the rank 6, I want to say, somewhere around there. Now we've actually seen all of them.
And there's 10?
There's 10.
Okay.
The elite 10. And so, and at this point in this one, they have what they call the Moon Festival, and basically anyone can enter. They create a booth. Either you can do a solo entry on your own, or any of the clubs that you're in will do an entry as well. And it's kind of a competition in that regards, because you actually get money from this, and you're wanting to make sure that you, if you don't make a profit, you get expelled. So you have to make a profit.
Mhm.
And right now, before the actual thing took place, Soma ended up calling out one of the Elite 10 and said, if I can make more money in this festival, I want you to agree to a shokugeki to become one of the elite. So he's basically saying, if I do more profits during the festival than you, we're gonna do a shokugeki, and then that'll be my ticket into getting into the elite. So that's where we're at right now. A lot of this dude, he basically went head, and this is Soma's thing. He went head to head with this dude on what his specialty is. See, Soma he never does any one specialty. He's always all over the place. But I mean, you figure his original comings was from a diner. So, and a diner has a wider range of different foods that they serve. So this dude's main dish that he served was a Chinese dish, and that's what he pretty much said. All right, I'm gonna beat you at your own game. And yeah, I think it's a week-long event, and now they're on day 4, I think. And this was the first time Soma actually beat him out on a day's profit.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's going to be. I don't know how he's going to be able to turn it around and actually come back from the previous days where he wasn't, or the first day he actually didn't make a profit. So he was in a very tight spot in that regards. And then he'd only barely been making a profit, whereas the other dude was actually making way more money, stacks and stacks of bills. So we'll have to see how well he can actually come back from that. Okay. But again, it's interesting to see. They don't ever stay with one food type or one dish or something like that. It's always, we're trying new things, we're going here, we're trying this, we're doing this, and it's to see, again, this is very much an underdog story. Soma was the odd man out. He worked at a diner. We've learned that he never had he's not a culinary genius. It's the fact that he doesn't give up. Even when he's faced with the greatest of adversaries, he will not give up, and he will find a way, however he needs to be able to come out on top. Okay. So very much an underdog story, but it's awesome to get into. And then the funny thing is the seat 10, the girl in the left-hand side there, the blonde in the picture there, she's seat 10. And absolutely hates Soma with a passion. And the funny thing is, though, is that her one person that she looks up to, admires, and actually might have feelings for, potentially, is actually Soma's dad, and she doesn't.
That's funny.
I mean, you get reminded of this every now and then, that she has like a special place in her heart for him, because like even when she was she's doing the Moon Festival as well. She actually has on the upper tier a restaurant, essentially, with like tables and everything, and her assistant was remarking how, oh, we're completely booked up, even with, we're only taking reservations, and even still we're completely booked up. She's like, why did you leave this one table over here empty? It's a prime location here. And she's like, just in case somebody should happen to drop by. And everyone knows that's who she's thinking of. It's just the fact that she doesn't know the fact that Soma's dad is actually who he is. So it's interesting, and the dynamics between them. I mean, it's over the top. It's still over the top. I mean, from the first time you saw it in the first season, but the characters, you expect that. You expect things to be over the top. With like, they're saying, oh, they added in this spice and it made the cooking that much better. Or they did this specialty and did this, and it's interesting to see. And it just, for people who enjoy food and enjoy, the underdog story. I mean, this is right up your alley. It's an amazing series to watch. And it's always interesting to see what new things come up with. So
okay, cool. Yeah, everybody knows my stance on this show. What? 60% of it's awesome, and then I just can't get past the other 40% that I've seen. It may be a lower percentage, but from what I've seen, it's 40%. So, yeah, I know a lot of people like this show. Even King and Daisy Cakes. So I'm glad y'all it's still going on.
Yes, maybe at some point down the line.
Yeah. The next show we're going to be talking about is Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko, or Girl's Last Tour.
This is another one I wanted to watch. And guess what?
Yep, another anime strike show. It is pretty good. Basically, just like we thought, there's these two girls. There are other people, not very many, and most of the world is run down, and a lot of things are broken, and it appears that this is a few generations in the future, because these two characters don't know what a fish is. One of them does, because she seems to be studious, like she reads up a lot of on a lot of things, and she gets a lot of information, and she's journaling her, like chronicling her journey. She's like writing down, like in a diary, like what happens on certain days and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. There's like a huge difference between the two characters. It's like there's the dark-haired girl who's the smarter one, and then the blonde girl who's just the stronger one, but she's an airhead. There was
so
one.
They went with a stereotypical blonde in that regard.
That's funny. So it's a really, really interesting show. The world that they go through is pretty cool. There are certain parts where they're out in the open for a long time, and then there's other parts where they go inside this door, inside this building, and then they're in the building for days because they can't find their way out. It looks like electricity is gone, so it's not like they can walk inside of a building and flip on the switches or something like that. There is plenty of fuel around because at certain points they've gone and refueled their machine, or the little tank thing that they have. And basically they just spend a few days traveling, and then they spend a few days scavenging for things like they need, like fuel, food, munitions and stuff like that. Every now and then they'll stop and do like some target practice and stuff like that, but they've never come across a situation where they need to like shoot and kill something. I think all of the animals are dead too. So
have they explained why the world is like that?
No. Out of the for the 3 episodes that I've seen, it's basically them finally getting out of this building, and then them finding this water source. Well, them trying to find warmth, and when they found warmth, they ended up finding this part of a city that has a waterfall. So then they end up can like take a bath and like swim around and stuff like that. And then the third episode is them being lost inside of this gigantic city and trying to find a way across this huge trench. And it seemed kind of mechanical, like the whole city was like machinery, but not enough to where it seemed futuristic. It just it just seemed kind of weird. A lot like some of the cool things that I've seen in this show are they found a fish. Like when they were in the city where they were at the bottom of the waterfall and like bathing and washing their clothes and stuff like that. And a dead fish just floated by. And one girl picked it up. She's like, "Oh, what's this?" And another girl's like, "I think that's a fish." And you look at it and like its eyes all pussy and like glazed over. And I'm like, ew. And it doesn't have any fins. It just has like the head part, then like a naked body, and then the tail. And then she's like, "Can we eat this?" And I'm like, "No, don't eat that." I'm like, "It's yellow. Fishes aren't supposed to be yellow." So they're like, "I think we can grill it," and then they eat it. And I'm like, it's missing fins. I got a pussy eye. And I'm like, "Why did y'all eat that?" And they're just fine. Then there's other parts where they are traveling, trying to get across this trench thing because they want to go up to the second level of a city, which is kind of weird. Like cities don't have a second level, but every now and then there's like these giant towers that you can travel up, and then there's like a second level to a city. So as far as the environments and everything go, it's pretty unique, pretty interesting. They end up seeing another guy, a person. And it's like this older dude, and he's just off by himself, and he's been mapping out the city, and he can't find a way across this ravine. So he sets off some explosions and makes a building fall and crash across it. And then he, because he made the bridge, they're like, "Yeah, we can help you get over this thing. You can just hop into the back of our tank." So like they spend like half a day like trying to ride up the building and like lifting debris out of the way so the tank can actually like climb across it, and then they get down. And they end up making it to the tower and like travel up this giant lift. And I'm not good with heights, so I'm like, and the main girl, she's not good with heights either. So both of us are like, no, don't move too much. Don't make it like fall or anything. And the guy, he's been making this map for like a very, very long time. So you're like, it's a very important thing to him. And something happens and like the map goes flying off the edge and just papers everywhere. And I'm like, no. And it's really cool because it's like, I've only known that dude for 10 minutes. And because of how quickly they built his character, I immediately feel for him when like things like that happen. So they're really, really good at building characters. And the animation style is pretty good. Every now and then when they'll switch the tank to CG, and you can immediately tell because like the girl's face looks kind of silly. Because she'll be like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." And then all of a sudden she'll be like, eh. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so like the CG part, they're not like as good as Infini-T Force, but they use it sparingly. So yeah, great characters, great environments, nice animation style, and the world that they're developing is really, really cool. Like I have no idea where it's going. Like it's kind of aimless. They're like, "You know what? What's up there? I don't know. Let's go up there." And they're like, "Oh, okay." The one thing they want to find out, they want to find some more fish. So I'm like, "Don't! Y'all are gonna get sick. Please
don't eat the yellow pus-filled fish."
So that's where they're heading on episode 3. They're like, they got into the second level, and then they're trying to head to where the stream began so they can find out where that fish came from. But I'm like, I get it because they need more food, but don't eat that fish, please.
Don't eat the fish.
So yeah, it's a really good show. I recommend it whenever it's off of Anime Strike.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
Yeah.
when it's not on Amazon Strike.
So speaking of Amazon Strike, The next show we're gonna be
Another
talking about is UQ Holder, Maho Sensei Nejima 2.
I knew there was another one. God, there's so many of them. I can't watch.
So one thing that I'm starting to notice is that as far as Amazon Strike goes, they partnered with Sentai. So the two big distributors of anime in the US, from what I'm starting to learn, now that I'm starting to increase my collection, is that it's either Funimation or it's Sentai or Aniplex. And I don't know what Aniplex is doing. I know they're taking a lot of their shows away and then they're selling it for expensive, but the two main people are Sentai and Funimation. Funimation and Crunchyroll, they've teamed up, so they'll get half of the shows that come out. The other half, basically, are Sentai shows, and they tend to stream their stuff on High Dive, which is another anime streaming show, and they've partnered with Amazon. So depending on who licensed the show, it's either gonna go to Crunchyroll or it's gonna go to Amazon, and that's just the crappy part. So it's like the anime season is gonna be split right down the middle to people who already have Prime and people who don't. So it's
So anyways.
Yeah. Distribution aside, this show is actually really cool. The animation is very nice. Some of it reminds me of whoever did Working, because in part of the intro, do you remember any of the Working intros, or did you not even watch them?
I vaguely remember the Working intros.
Yeah, so I think they had like the yellow diamond that had Working on it with the fork and the spoon, and like some of the characters will be standing next to it, and then they kind of just shift their weight, like they'll be standing like da 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 da, and they're like just shift their weight a little bit. This show does the exact same thing. Like there's some kind of yellow sign behind it, and two of the characters do that, and I'm like, wait a minute, are these the same people who worked on Working? So it's or is it the same person who made the intro for Working? It's really weird. I need to look it up. I'm pretty sure that'd be cool if both of them were JC Staff, because then it's like, yes, I love JC Staff even more. But yeah, so this show basically takes place years after Maho Sensei Nejima, because they make a lot of callbacks. The woman in the bottom left of this show, she is a immortal. She's a vampire, so she's immortal. And in Nejima, she was like an 8-year-old little girl, and she's probably, she looked like an 8-year-old little girl, but she was probably like 900 years old. And in this show, she uses some kind of magic pill to like up her age, and she was an instructor at this one school, and she's basically hiding out because people are after immortals, and she was kind of laying low, taking care of Nejima's grandson, which is the main guy in the middle leaning towards the other guys. He's just like the rambunctious main character. Like, he's like 14, so he's like wild and crazy and stuff like that. Sometimes he's about boobs, sometimes he's not. This show's Nejima, so of course there's a lot of fan service and stuff like that in it. But some of it's funny, and some of it I'm like, I'm over that kind of stuff. So as far as that goes, I'm like on the fence. The action is really nice. There was one scene where the bad guy just kind of showed up, and he's like, hey, I'm the bad guy. Slice everybody into pieces. And I'm like, what the hell? And like there's like chunks of bodies flying all across the screen, and I'm like, what is up with this season and like just violence and gore? So they both just happen to be immortal, so they didn't die from it. But some of the fights are very shocking. The action is really cool. At one point, one scene, it turned into Dragon Ball Z, where like the two characters are like punching each other and like just kind of spinning around in a circle, and I'm like, why are y'all punching like Dragon Ball Z? I'm like, we've moved on. That was 30 years ago. Or 20 years ago. Yeah. So, for the most part, it's really cool animation, really cool fights and everything. But every now and then they gotta kind of stop and like go to a hot spring and throw some little ecchi in there because it's Nejima. The main character is basically trying to go to this tower. That's another theme for this season. It's like all these sky towers. Where he was living before, he can see the tower. And because that one village guy attacked, their cover was blown. So now they're relocating to... well, first they were headed towards the tower. And then because the main character is immortal now, he was like, hey, it kind of sucks about the immortals and everything. We should go around and find other immortal people and create like a team. And then that'll keep all the immortal people safe and like we can save the world and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as he says that, like 1,000 black limos like pull up, and there's like the FBI and all that kind of stuff show up, and they're like, "You're coming with us," and all that kind of stuff. And what had happened was the vampire woman, she already created an organization of immortals, and when they got close, they just came by and picked them up and took her to the headquarters, and it went from, oh, we're on this journey to we're on the run kind of. And we're on this journey to head towards this tower because apparently this dude's grandfather might be up there, to, oh no, we're going to the headquarters of all this immortal place, and now you have to fight to get into the team. And then once you pass, then maybe we'll go to the tower, or the whole show's taking a different turn. So I don't really know where it's going. I kind of hope it goes back to like the journey, because the headquarters is a hot spring. So I'm like,
Of course.
So they're like, there's no other way we could get hot spring hijinks into this unless we make the base a hot spring. So I kind of hope we like go back on the journey, because we're in the den of the boobs now. So
I like that. The den of the boobs. I like that.
So yeah, there's a lot of like really cool, promising things about this show. And I hope we go back to like the journey, because right now he has to qualify to be part of the team, and then hopefully the team moves out, because we're kind of just stuck in this spot right now. But yeah,
Stuck in den of...
yeah. So yeah, I really like this show. One thing is, I kind of want to go back to the first one, just like a lot of shows now. But it's one of these things.
Yeah, but you said you didn't like the first one.
I didn't watch the first one that much. I watched maybe an episode here and there, and back then the ecchi got on my nerves. So I'm wondering if I could just tolerate it now, because there was this one. There's this one huge scene that they played from the first season, because basically he's following in his grandfather's footsteps, where like the girl from the original series, or the woman now from the original series, she had a flashback because of like a line that he said. He like said it almost word for word of what his grandfather said. And she's like, oh my God, this brings me back. So I'm like, I kind of want to be in her shoes, whereas like I've lived through the first season, and now anything that replays, I'm like, that's from the first season, and I could be with her. So right now I feel left out whenever they do that.
So it's definitely something you want to continue watching, though.
Yes, I will definitely put it on hold for now, and then whenever my backlog show rolls around, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. So the next show, which I believe is the last show, is Vanishing Line.
Is it? Have we gotten to that point yet? Let's see.
I think we've covered everything.
Wars, Ancient Magus' Bride, Juuni, Black Clover, King's Game. Well, I did have the continuation of Elegant Yokai Apartment, but that's just more just the same thing I've already been doing.
Okay,
that one.
So yeah, we can talk about that one too. I will add it to the list. But so the next show we're gonna be talking about is Vanishing Line, which is actually part of the Garo series, which I didn't know.
Really?
This is like the third one, I think.
Oh, well, I'm kind of thrown in the middle of that. I don't think I've seen the other ones on that.
Yes.
Have you watched this one, though?
Yes, I've seen 3 episodes.
Okay. Is it just me? Is it just me? Or did they decide, whoever was making this series, is I'm going to take all of the tropes, all of the cliches about America, and I'm going to throw it in and make it an anime?
You know what? Now that you say that, I'm starting to see all of that.
It's what it seems like to me. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not gonna dog on it for any reason on that. But it just seems like the more I was watching, I just started grinning more and more, looking at it, going, "Oh my God, this is like they just took all things stereotypical American and being like, we're gonna throw it in here, we're gonna throw that in here, we're gonna put that in there." I mean, you think about it.
Yeah.
His base of operations that he keeps getting his information from is a 80s diner.
Yes.
Which they wear the outfits that you would have seen from that in that time frame, the
Yeah.
waitress and everything.
And there's red, white, and blue makeup, right?
Something like that.
Okay.
But then like the meal that he orders is like a huge steak
Yeah.
with fries and mashed, like so much. I'm just like overhaul. Like I'm like, well, yeah, that's probably something stereotypical there. And his personality is so like over the top in regards to that. I mean, he's the womanizer.
Yeah.
Always going after the ladies, regardless. And he's just like the big, brawny, I'm gonna like barrel my way through and use just so much force until it finally works out kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it going, that's literally his personality. And I swear, it's like they literally took everything in regards to like America and been like, you know what, this is how we're going to do it. And I'm totally on board with that. I'm totally him. As bad as I am totally on board with that. I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it, but, you know, I like his bike. I like the fact that he has like a sort of quid pro quo for that with his bike. How, you know, he's the gung ho beat 'em up kind of personality, where his bike's personality is kind of like, really, we're doing this again.
I wonder if he has a Harley.
Huh?
I wonder if the bike is a Harley, because that would be also like another American thing.
Yeah, that would be funny if that was the case though too. But even then, it's like, you know, and his bike actually has more reasoning than he does half the time.
Yeah.
But I like the other characters too. I mean, his what do you call him, Lucas or Luke?
I think it's Luke. Yeah.
Yeah, the one who's like the gunner, who's kind of the quiet type, and then gets annoyed about his obnoxious, over-the-top behavior.
Yeah.
Being like, come on, we're not supposed to be in the limelight. We're not supposed to be drawing attention to ourselves. And what do? You blow up a tanker in the middle of a bridge. Of course you're drawing attention, you know.
He's like, you're no fun. You're a spoil sport.
He's like, stop it. So... but yeah, no, it's over the top. It's so cliched and in a lot of ways predictable in so many things that they do. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? This is definitely one of those that I don't have to think about.
Yeah.
I can literally just sit back, enjoy the ride for what it's going to be, for the ridiculousness that it's going to be, and I'm still on board with it. Totally. I want to know what's the deal with El Dorado. I want to find out what's, you know, I was a little sad when the girl from the first episode didn't appear again till like the fourth episode. Like the second and third episode, I'm looking at it going, well, where'd she go? I thought we were going to be like on board with this with her, and then she didn't show up for the longest time.
Yeah.
But then she came back and I'm like, okay, now we're back on. I felt like we had like diverged from it, you know, like we had been like, well, we want to introduce these other two characters that are somehow related to this, and then we'll go back to the actual story. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. We can go back to where we need to be. But I'm interested, like the yokai and these monsters who either inhabit people and turn them into like horrible monsters, or, you know, inhabit like inanimate objects or whatever, and cause people, you know, havoc and craziness. I'm like, I'm totally on board wanting to know where these things are coming from, what it has to do with El Dorado, what happened with this girl's brother, all of it. I'm just like, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm all, I get onto this. So, but I mean, he's the cliched hero too. He always comes in at the last minute, saves the day, does whatever he has to do, you know. So I'm like, whatever. We'll go with it. Okay. Nothing amazing here. I'm not gonna say anything's groundbreaking or anything. So the animation's top notch. I think I'm like digging the animation that they did for it. But again, there's really nothing like amazing about it. I feel it's just like it is what it is, and we just kind of go along with it. So
yeah. So some parts of this show are a little gruesome. I gotta be like, ugh. But other than that, it's actually really cool. I like how exaggerated the fights are. It's kind of like the camera is struggling to keep up with the fight, where it's like, is chasing the dude, and he's just like reaching back, and bah, and the camera's like, wait, okay, now I'm here, and it's like, whoa, dodging elbows and stuff like that. So it's really cool that the camera is like so animated as it is. The first episode was a little much to keep track of. I couldn't tell mostly what was going on at like the climax of the fight, but then in episode 2, when there was a tag team fight, I really liked how they kind of reined it in, and I was actually able to like follow everything. So it's getting better. Like, I like how there's 3 main warriors, I guess, and they're trying to track down the hollows. I do want more time with the girl and find out like with her brother and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like how she was.
Well, you're on. Have you watched just 3 episodes or 4 episodes?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Like how you said, she shows up in the 4th episode again. So I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, we get back to her and find out what's going on with her and her issues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more backstory. I'm hoping now that they've kind of teamed back up again, that we'll get like more of a full story now as far as on episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
So one thing that I'm learning about you is that if the 3D is super duper stylized, you don't even care.
Yeah, it's more okay. I will say this for me, like, okay, for CG as far as it goes, like, I was totally on board with it when I watched, say, like Appleseed.
Yeah,
like, because that to me made sense.
Yeah,
it's futuristic. You're going to have kind of like this robotic almost thing. Things weren't human. I'm totally on board with that. Can totally see that. With Final Fantasy and Kingsglaive and the Final Fantasy VII one, it was so well done that I didn't even care. Mm-hmm. That it was like, okay, that's great. And then with things like Garo, I'm like, I can see it every now and then, and it'll hit my mind being like, oh, 3D. But at the same time, there's so much going on, and it all happens so fast. I'm trying to keep up, and it doesn't really bother me as much with that regards. You know, mm-hmm. It's those moments when we have, like, you know, say for instance, what's that really popular one? It's not even it's in Texas as far as like the main RBW or RBY.
Oh, Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's really popular.
Yeah.
Hugely popular, but it's a 3D animation kind of thing,
uh-huh.
And they have so many slow moments where like nothing's really going on. You're only looking at the characters and nothing else. And I'm like, this just feels horrible.
Yeah.
I can't. It feels horrible. There's nothing going on. There's no reasoning for this. There's no reason why this couldn't have been 2D animation. Y'all just wanted to do a 3D animation with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, no, I can't. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing where I think it comes in. So when it just looks wrong and it looks off and doesn't feel right and doesn't have a purpose, then and you're literally just doing dialogue like a slice of life type story, I'm like, come on, no.
Okay.
No,
cool.
no, can't do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts in this show, like especially the fight scenes, where it would be incredibly difficult to do in 2D. So yeah. I do like how super duper stylized it is.
Yes.
Me, I have a history with Garo. I don't really like Garo. The first 2 seasons, I tried to watch the first one. I tried to watch the second one. I didn't like either. And for some reason, I didn't know this one was Garo until I looked at it on Crunchyroll, and it was like Garo, Vanishing Line. I'm like, oh no! But I went ahead and gave it a shot, like I do every series that comes out for Garo, and I love it. Like, there's certain parts that like definitely like how parts of it look like a mix between a metallic lion and Karas. You remember the 3D Karas?
Yeah.
Like how everything's like super detailed and like sharp edges and all that kind of stuff. Like that style is 100% Garo. So as soon as it said Garo and then the intro started playing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely a Garo series. But when it's not doing that, 1, I don't recognize it, and 2, it's so stylized that it blends together. So I'm on board for this series. And then the story's interesting enough to where I'm like, yeah, let's go. And the guy is not, he's like, yeah, he appreciates a nice physique from a woman, but he's not perverted about it.
No, well, I mean, I honestly, when he does stuff like that, I just laugh.
Yeah, because he'll see somebody and he's like, oh, good job. So I'm
Thank you.
like, so I'm like, okay, yeah, that's funny. He's not like tripping and falling on the woman and has his hand like up her underwear and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm glad it's not silly like that.
He, I would say this. He is definitely one who would be looking at a woman, but he's respectful enough not to do anything involving with that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, but still, it's literally after the first episode, my impression of him, of the anime, of everything that happened, of how over the top everything was. My first thought to me was, I'm like, literally, I feel like whoever made this was like, you know what? Let's take all the tropes, all the stereotypes of America, and let's just throw them all into this. Just cram it all into as much as we can. Because I'm like, this is literally just reminding me of just all of that, which is just hilarious and funny, and I'm totally on board with it. So
Cool. Yeah. I'm glad I finally like a Garo series. So this is looking good. The last show we're going to be talking about is Yokai Apato no Yuga no Nichijou, or Yokai Apartment Life.
Apartment Life.
Yes, I don't have an updated image for it.
So this is a continuation from last season. They literally just is one of the few. Seems like this is a rare thing to happen nowadays, where you actually have an anime that lasts more than 12 episodes in a season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really don't see that happen. Carryovers for last season don't seem to happen that often.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad this one did. I'm glad this one did. I still enjoy it. It's still an awesome series. I think anyone who's hasn't gotten onto it yet, definitely I'd say check it out, get into it. It's a slice of life for sure. It's a kid just trying to make his living, trying to get to school, trying to do what he needs to do. But then he lives in an apartment with yokai and monsters and stuff like that. And then, he's also now has his magical tome, his grimorum, I guess, essentially, which doesn't have like huge power, but at least he has allies and magics that he can do with it. And, it's him balancing his school life, his work life, his home life, and him basically training himself and his off time in order to become more in tune with his spiritual, I guess, nature, to where he can actually use and control. And the more he powers himself up, the more he powers the book up and gains more power through that. So, and it's the dynamics and relationships, the characters I enjoy. Not just, because you have the human interaction, but then the monster interaction with it, I also enjoy. And I still want to know the freaking writer that is in that apartment complex. I want to know if he's actually human or not, because there's some instances where I'm looking at it going, I don't know if you're human, because you do things, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be like a big plot twist throw off, something's going to happen with that, but it's interesting.
Okay.
And much like some of the rest of the stories with Blood Blockade, Battlefront, and Kino's journey and stuff like that, it seems like each day, even though there's a continuation with characters, that there's no necessary direction it's going in. It's just a day by day kind of thing, and you don't know what to expect. Anything can happen, some new yokai shows up, or some festival, or something happens, something goes on, and we're just kind of like, okay, now we're going off in this direction, and we're going to do this, and it's an episodic. So very much kind of seeing what's going on, seeing nice little venture. So
cool. Yeah, this is on the back burner for me. It was pretty cool when I started it. But there's a couple I don't have enough time to watch everything, so I chose. Plus, last season was garbage for me as far as free time. So I'm actually able to watch 10 shows this season. So
up with them though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll probably cut it in half because there's some stuff I want to start for next year. But the show was actually pretty good, and I will definitely come back to it whenever I making my second pass through all the anime. Alright. Well, that has been Monthly Ketchup number 31 live. We shall be back at the end of next month for the upcoming 2018 winter shows.
Yes.
So, I
Any
haven't.
idea of any ones coming out that you know of that it's going to be
I think.
sequels or anything?
Well, I know something's gonna happen next year. I just don't know when it's gonna happen. So I'm like, One Punch Man 2 is coming out.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I think that Fooly Cooly is gonna be coming out. I
Yep.
think that Index 3 might be coming out.
Yep.
So
Heard about that one.
there's a bunch of like really big shows that I'm looking forward to. As far as next season, like what's gonna be happening in like the next 2 months, I don't know for sure. I haven't looked at the list yet, but yeah, I look forward to those three big shows that are coming up.
Definitely.
Um, as far as the anime channel, I have been working very hard on some stuff now that I got my free time back. The Backlog, which is like a version of this show, but back in the past, started in 1996. It'll be going all the way up until we started the channel. And it may continue and like pick up shows that we never finished or never actually talked about. So that's going to be like many episodes. Then I have my reaction videos, anime theater, that I'm doing. I'm starting those, and those will be the shows that I actually revisit from back in 1996 on. Coming up next month, or coming up December, will be the 12 Days of Anime. I am going to be doing some top 5 videos. Kind of like the one you did for 2014. But I think I'm going to focus mostly on characters because there's so much stuff I want to do, and I don't have enough time to be able to knock out 12 videos that quickly. So, just like every year, the 12 Days of Anime, I'm going to be doing that again, and that'll start December 1st. The announcement video will be coming out in a few weeks. I don't really know when everybody's starting that, but that'll be coming out soon. So, yeah, as always, this has been Big D and Shade. We will be back in a month talking about the new shows of 2018, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Interesting season.
Yeah. I've been busy, so I am far behind Shade. I've only have 2 shows to talk about today.
But I mean, it's those situations like that. You're like, yeah, hell yeah, you showed him who's boss. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, shut up, please. Stop. Just shut up. Come on. You were doing